Well, buckle up, kids, because we are going on a wild ride through your grandma's memory lane and explore the unknown and fascinating world of the space race. Cold War brought us plenty of buffoonery. One of them was space race. We were all terrified of the Russians, but what we were really terrified of were the Russians in space. During the height of the space race, both the US and the USSR were coming up with some, to put it lightly, questionable ideas in a bid to show who's the real daddy. But perhaps the best encapsulation of this was when the US had a plan to nuke the moon. Yes, you heard that right. In the late 1950s, the US was seriously considering detonating a nuclear bomb on the moon to show off their technological prowess. I can only imagine how that came to be. Yeah, that's right. Hey, America, check this out. What? And this. Oh, hey, America, you're stupid. Oh, yeah? Yeah. Oh, yeah? Yeah. And what are you gonna do about it? I'll nuke the moon. What?
I'll nuke the freaking moon!
During this time, both parties were keen to figure out whether people can survive a trip to space. So what's a better way to find this out than sending a bunch of animals there? Russians, for example, had a dog named Laika, one of the first animals sent to space. They found it wandering the streets of Moscow a week before the launch. Soviet scientists chose to use Moscow strays since they assumed that such animals had already learned to endure extreme conditions. Ah yes, streets of Moscow, space, both cold, empty, and if you encounter another life form, you're probably going to get used for inhumane experiments or just killed. Seems pretty similar to me. Soviets even gave her nicknames like Kudryavka, Russian for little curly, Zhuchka, little bug, and Limonchik, little lemon, which I find pretty ironic since everyone basically expected that she will die during the voyage. So in response, the US sent a few monkeys in space. 2 of them survived and 1 was subjected to 76 electrical shocks and died. Soviets also had a plan to build a giant mirror in space to reflect sunlight onto Earth. The idea was to create an artificial daylight zone in the northern hemisphere during winter months to boost crop yields and provide more light for residents. However, the plan never came to fruition due to common sense. Hey kids, have you ever heard about the space bat? It was an evening just like this. 1973's NASA Skylab space station was orbiting the Earth with a crew of 3 clueless astronauts aboard. Everything seemed fine until they heard a strange fluttering sound. First they just thought that it was aliens, but as days passed the sound grew louder and louder until one day their patience ran out and the crew decided to go and find the source of this. As the astronauts were on the lookout, they saw their teammate standing still with a terrified expression on his face. They asked, "What happened, Bill? What did you see?" Bill pointed at the corner of the room, and there it was, lurking in the shadows. A space bat. Yes, kids, there was an actual bat in space that somehow snuck into the ship before launching. But don't worry, the astronauts let the bat out where it was supposed to be. Open space. Talking about things being where they're supposed to be, in the 1950s and 1960s, the US considered building a military base on the moon. The US Air Force developed plans for a lunar military outpost that would serve as a launchpad for missile strikes on Earth. But this brilliant idea was also abandoned, largely because of the signing of the Outer Space Treaty, which prohibited the militarization of space. Because again, just like Russians, guns are much scarier in space. There you have it, folks, a few minutes of me rambling about the space race. From nuking the moon to space bats, it's clear that the US and the Soviet Union were willing to go to extreme lengths to prove their dominance in the race to conquer space. Subscribe if you like to see more, and see you soon. Oh, and remember, when you don't need anything, then you have everything you need.